What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We continue here with our 2023 college football predictions for the 2023 college football season. Up next are the Arizona State Sun Devils, a team coming off a disappointing season in 2022. They went 3-9 overall last year in 2022. This is a team that I kind of predicted that would be a dark horse contender in the Pac-12. Last year I had them going 8-4, and it really didn't turn out to be the case. They fired their head coach in the early part of the season, so that's how they ended up finishing at 3-9 for 2022. My thoughts on this Arizona State team in 2023, I think they're going to be competitive. You look at this team, you may think that the roster is not going to be pretty good due to all the coaching changes and everything, and obviously the defense and offensive, systems, but they brought in a ton of guys in the transfer portal, and you could see that this Arizona State team, I think, will be heading in the right direction probably until maybe next year, maybe a couple years. But this year, I just don't think that's going to be the case. I know Arizona State's got a lot of transfers coming in. Like I said, I think they'll be competitive in some of their games, but I just don't think it's going to be quite enough for a good first year for Arizona State with their new head coach. You look at the schedule, it's a pretty tough schedule this year for the Sun Devils. They'll play Southern Utah, Oklahoma State, and Fresno State in the non-conference. Oklahoma State and Fresno State non-conference games, those are pretty tough ones. Oklahoma State's a rematch from last year. You need to get Fresno State here. A group of 5 team that's really good. They're coming off a 10-win season last year, so Fresno State going to be a pretty good team this year. And then you look at the Pac-12 schedule. They'll play USC, Washington on the road, Utah on the road, UCLA on the road, and also they'll play Oregon at home on November 18th. So you got the top 6 teams there out of the Pac-12 this year. USC, Washington on the road, UCLA, Utah on the road, and then you got Oregon. So you're playing the top 6 teams from last year in the Pac-12. And that kind of what makes this schedule a lot tougher for Arizona State this year. But let's go game by game now and give you an official prediction for this Arizona State team for 2023. So they start things off here with Southern Utah on August 31st, a Thursday night game here against Southern Utah. This should be a pretty easy win here for Arizona State. I really don't see them having any problems whatsoever in this one. I think Arizona State will start out 1-0 pretty easily for 2023. This is a game they should score about 30 or 40 points in this one. Then they'll play Oklahoma State here on September the 9th. I'm really concerned about Oklahoma State this year. Offensively, they lost a ton of guys in the transfer portal. Defensively, they lost a little bit of guys on that side of the football, but I think their defense is going to be the strength of their season this year. Offensively, like I said, is going to be concerning. You got 2 opposite teams here. Oklahoma State lost a lot of guys in the transfer portal, but Arizona State brought some guys in the transfer portal. This is a rematch from last year. The game obviously not really close last year. I think this is a more competitive game this year than it was last year, but it's a low-scoring type game. I think both offenses will probably struggle here in this one, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to the talent. It really comes down to the talent, who has the more talented team. I think Oklahoma State still has the more talented team, and like I said, this is a new rebuild for Arizona State, so it's going to take a while for them to really get back to winning ways. And I think they lose a close, low-scoring type matchup here against Oklahoma State at home on September 9th. That puts their record at 1-1. Then they'll play Fresno State here on September 16th. I got them winning this game, but not really easily. I think Fresno State's going to give Arizona State a scare here in this game. I think it's one of those games that Arizona State probably should not sleep on. Fresno State's going to be a pretty good team this year. Like I said, they were a 10-win team last year, and they could really make this game competitive. But I think Arizona State will win it here by at least a couple touchdowns, and I got the Sun Devils improving to 2-1. Then they'll open up Pac-12 play here at home against USC on September 23rd. Now, this is a game I don't really expect to be all that close this year. I think the Trojans just have way too much talent on the offensive side of the football. Defense, though, will be a weakness for them. I think Arizona State could score some points in this game, but I just don't really think it's going to be quite enough to pull off a huge upset here at home. Plus, it's in the month of September. Arizona State's kind of not better by this time. We don't really know about this team just yet, so I think USC will win this one pretty easily. I don't think it will be a blowout, but I think it's a couple touchdown loss here for Arizona State, maybe about 17 or 10 points or 20 points in that range. And I got Arizona State actually falling to 2-2. Then they'll play Cal on the road here on September 30th. I just did Cal's prediction yesterday. You can go back and watch that video. I did predict Cal to win this one. I think both of these teams are pretty even. and talent-wise and returning production-wise. Overall, both of these teams brought in a ton of guys in the transfer portal. You got Cal here that's kind of, not in a rebuild, but they're definitely going to be more competitive than they were last year. This is a team that had a rough season, and Arizona State going to be more competitive, I think, this year than they were last year as well. Cal, though, does have the home field advantage in this game, and I think that's what gets it done. I think this is a low-scoring type game, and I think Arizona State will lose a close one here on the road at Cal, and I got Arizona State now falling to 2-3. Then they'll get to the month of October. They'll play Colorado here at home on October 7th. Interesting matchup here between the Buffaloes and the Sun Devils. Both of these teams are pretty even. Kind of similar to the Cal game. Cal doesn't really have a new head coach and everything, but Colorado does. Coach Sanders coming over here, and this could be a very well competitive game. I think this game is not a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a defensive battle here, kind of similar to the Cal game. It will be a low-scoring type game, but this is a tough one to call. Arizona State has home field advantage in this one. With that being said, I'm going to go with the home field advantage here, and I'm going to go with the Sun Devils here to get their first Pac-12 win of the season at home against Colorado. And that puts Arizona State's record at 3-3. They'll get a bye week after that Colorado game. They'll play Washington on the road here on October 21st. Too much production coming back for this Washington team this year. I just don't think Arizona State has what it takes to compete in this game. Plus, it's on the road, a very tough place to play, on the road at Washington. This is the kind of game I think Arizona State will get blown out in, and this is probably going to be one of their first games that they get blown out in the season. So I think Arizona State will lose to Washington here on October 21st. I think they get a bye week before playing that game. I just don't think it will be quite enough to pull off an upset against that high-powered Washington offense and that defense as well. And I got Arizona State now falling to 3-4. Then they'll play Washington State here on October 28th. Washington State's kind of a team that I kind of expect to be a dark horse contender this year. I think they're going to be really good compared to where they were last year. They went 7-6 overall this year. I have them going 8-4. Now, I did predict, the Cougars to win this one. I think Washington State is the better overall team. Plus, Arizona State, like I said, they're kind of in a rebuild, so they're starting over from scratch with all the transfers that they have coming in. But I think it will be a close game. I think it will be a high-scoring game here. End of the day, though, I do like Washington State here in a close one. And I think Arizona State will lose at home here to Washington State here on October 28th. That puts their record at 3-5. Then they'll play Utah on the road here in the month of November on November 4th here. This game is kind of similar to the Washington game. I don't really expect this one to be all that close. I think Utah has way too much talent and experience on their roster. Plus, Cam Rising back at quarterback is huge for them. So I think this is going to be the second game where Arizona State's going to get blown out in. And I think Utah will win it pretty easily here and puts their record at 3-6. So Arizona State needs 3 more wins here to get to a bowl game. Then they'll play UCLA here on the road on November 11th. UCLA, I don't think is going to be the same team as they were last year. Not really a team that can challenge, for the Pac-12 championship. But you don't really want to sleep on them. But kind of in like that dark horse contender spot as well. This is a tough place to play, though, on the road at UCLA. But I think Arizona State can keep this game close. I don't think it will be a blowout. I think UCLA has had some problems with some, teams that are not really winning teams. But I think Arizona State can keep this game close in the first half. But second half, I think the Bruins will pull away. And I think UCLA will win here at home. And I think they do defeat Arizona State here. So I got Arizona State losing that one on the road at UCLA. And that puts their record at 3-7. Then they'll play Oregon at home here on November 18th. Oregon is kind of similar to the USC game. They're going to have a lot of good offensive, they're going to have a really good offensive team. Defensively, I think they're going to be more stronger than USC. I don't think Arizona State has what it takes to score points in this game, but maybe they do that. Maybe they're better by this time on offense because it is in the month of November. It's kind of one of those upset alert type games, but I don't think it will be quite enough for Arizona State to pull off an upset against the Ducks. I think Oregon has just way too much talent on their roster, and I think Arizona State will lose here to Oregon at home on November 18th, and that puts Arizona State's record at 3-8. Then they'll play Arizona here to end things out at home on November 25th. This is a rival game. You never know what kind of to expect here between these two teams. Arizona defeated Arizona State last year. This is a close game last year. Went back and forth. It shows how much this rivalry goes back and forth here between these two teams. I think both rosters are pretty even. I mean, overall, though, Arizona has the more experienced roster, and they were definitely the better team last year than Arizona State. Arizona State's kind of in a rebuild year, so I think it will be taking some time here before they beat their rivals again. Revenge is on their minds in this one, but I think Arizona is the better team here. With that being said, in a high-scoring game like it was last year, I'm going to go with Arizona. I'm going to pick the Wildcats here to knock off Arizona State here in the last game of the regular season. And I got Arizona losing their last 6 games of the season from October 21st to November 25th. And I got them finishing with an overall record at 3-9 for 2023. But if you look at this schedule, there are very winnable games on this schedule for Arizona State. Oklahoma State's a winnable game. You got, Washington State at home, and you got, obviously, Arizona at home. And I don't really see them, defeating USC, Washington on the road, Utah on the road. UCLA's possibly a winning game, but that's a road game. You never know what can happen. Cal is a winnable game. I think that is a game they can probably win. If they win all 4 or 5 of those games, they can probably go 5-7. They could probably go 5-7, 6-6. Really, it would shock me if they did go 6-6 and go to a bowl game. If they go 5-7, that's some improvement for next year in 2024. But that is my official prediction for the Arizona State Sun Devils. I think they still have a long way to go before they can get back to winning ways. I'm liking where this team is heading with the transfer portal and everything. But give me your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think about Arizona State? What do you think their record is in 2023? My prediction is 3-9. Give me your thoughts down in the comments below, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports Channel.